Yo, what's up, manga fans? This is Rafael from C Manga, and I'm here to give you a review of this week's chapter of Hajime no Ippo 1035, Impressions After First Contact. And this chapter was more or less what the title says, Impressions After First Contact. And personally, for me, it left a good impression on me of what's to come from this, the later rounds of this fight. It was really well done. I was so pleased to see this change of events compared to what happened in the last match, where it seemed like Ippo was once again going to fall into that cycle of him basically getting his ass handed to, trying to get in close and get off a few hits. And it's it's repetitive. I really didn't want to see that, especially at this world level where this guy is number 2 ranked in the world. Gonzalez is dangerous. Like, you can't be making those kind of basically mistakes or tactics, because it will get you knocked out. And Reese did elaborate on this quite a lot. He worried about Ippo falling into this cycle of just gonna get beaten up and then gradually win the fight and pull it out of somewhere. And it's true, it's very repetitive and boring to see that again. We don't want to see anything similar to the Wally fight where it just drags out for time and time. That fight was brilliant, do not get me wrong, but we don't want to see it again. And this chapter changed I'm sure it changed Reese's mind as well about it, because I was very paranoid and pessimistic, thinking this is going to be him getting his face smashed up and then he's going to eventually come back. But in much later chapters, this chapter was completely different from that. Ippo was fighting on a world scale level, world level of boxing skill, and he was putting up a very good fight, and it was very skillful, very technical. And as I said, this is what made me happy. I was very impressed with this, and I just said I can't wait for what happens in the next chapters. But the way it went in this chapter was basically it was counters upon counters of each other. We see the first left that was thrown that ended at the last chapter. Ippo actually dodged it, and he swerves out of the way. He in his bob and weaving style, he weaves to the right and he attempts to do a hook, but Gonzalez sees that, dodges it, tries to counter it. So Ippo bobs to the left, tries for a liver blow, but the same thing happens. Gonzalez tries to counter it and with it left. So he dodges and swerves to do uppercut now, and that once again another counter, which basically is dodged by Ippo again. So then they end up doing another exchange, which eventually both hit, but they block, so they made contact but no actual damage was given. And then there was one final exchange and they both separated and took a breather. That was brilliant. I loved that part of the fight, because I can imagine how that would look animated. I really hope in the future we see an episode like this, because the way the effects are done in the anime, that would be really sick to do. And as I said, I was so impressed with Ippo. He's fighting one of the highest ranking boxers in his weight class in the world, and he's putting up a decent fight. The guy isn't easily dealing with Ippo. He's actually I'd say somewhat, I wouldn't say struggling, but he's having to think and actually take Ippo seriously, compared to what he said, I wouldn't think much of him. And as I said, we see observations for people like Miyata and Fuji, and they basically said the same thing. It was like literally they were countering upon counters. Every time someone made a move, the other person would counter, and it was really impressive to see that neither of them were hit, mainly Ippo. Even the fans, as I said, they were amazed. It was like, my gosh, Ippo is just like, he could probably do this. He kept up at a world-class exchange. It's like he might make his way to the world title stage, which he's obviously at, but make his way towards Ricardo. And one of obviously Ippo's styles, obviously his technique, is basically keep up close and press Gonzalez, which he said to himself. He's like, yes, I managed to do it. It's like, he's an impressive boxer, but I still managed to keep him close and make him move. Like, it wasn't easy. He had to keep dodging me and basically throwing lefts. And Gonzalez is finally starting to acknowledge him, because he said he sees that Ippo is a unique boxer. His short height makes him difficult to track, and his upward angle punches makes him somewhat of a complex boxer compared to obviously what he's used to. And Ippo's basically, it seems like what the fear I had of him was he was going to lose his nerve and he was going to become self-conscious, but he's actually saying, yes, my fighting style is working, my usual fighting style is doing this, I can keep up the pace. We see a bit more observation now from that. Obviously Takamura and Eji Date and the thing, and they're basically saying, Eji Date said this observation period isn't over, it's like it's only just begun. Ippo's the type of guy to close in and duke it out, and you can see that right now he's been forced to go back and he hasn't started fighting, so this has been nothing more than a demonstration. And literally they've been both doing this, they're demonstrating their weapons, showing off, flexing their muscles to say, this is what I'm going to do, what are you going to do that? It's like, if you do that, I'm going to do this. So they're basically goading each other to see how they'll react to each other's punches and techniques. And obviously from this, they'll know how to react and what will be effective. And as it says, this is world level strategy, this is what they need to do to basically win the fight, and kind of feel out and understand how the other boxer fights. So as I said, there was one little last bit. Ippo charges in, he attempts a liver blow, which actually was a feint, and it goes up higher to hit Gonzalez in the face. And it's like there was a flash, I could imagine that all slowing down, everyone's going gasping, but he blocks it obviously, and we see he's fine, but it did actually knock him slightly off balance, and we see there's like a fist mark in his glove. And this is when I think Gonzalez has basically said, yep, this guy, I cannot mess about with him no more. He said his destructive power and strength is world class, so I better demonstrate mine. And now I can tell the fight is starting to slowly escalate and get serious, and I'm glad Gonzalez is seeing Ippo as something else, not just some petty boxer. Like he said, I wouldn't expect much of him. No, expect much of Ippo now, because Ricardo Martinez seems to think Ippo was special, so I'm guessing Gonzalez will see it too. So yeah, that was this chapter. I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of the best I've read in a while, and I hope Ippo can continue at this this skill and this world level of boxing, because he's really impressed me in this chapter. And as I said, the only other time I've ever seen him fight without getting hit was the Kurosawa match, where he ended it in 2 rounds, and he basically didn't use anything but jabs and he destroyed the other boxer. But obviously this won't end in 2 rounds, but it'll be interesting to see Ippo kind of win this without taking too much damage, where his eyes all swollen and he's struggling to stand and all that. I'd like to see him fight and win this basically in his own comfort rather than just that's it, and then he brings back some sort of godly punch. It's one of those last moment things where he drags it out. So anyway, as I said, the chapter was interesting. Seems like Gonzalez is going to start playing seriously now and deal with Ippo, and I want to see how Ippo will do with this when he ups his game, because they seem like they're both going to up their pace. And as I said, it's definitely looking to be a good few rounds, hopefully not as long as Wally's one. So yeah, brilliant chapter, can't wait for the next one. You guys know, as usual, if you have any comments or opinions about this chapter and the next ones, leave it in the comment box below. If you enjoyed the chapter, leave a like, because it helps us out and the series out, and also subscribe for more content in the channel, and also check out our latest Ippo Rising review, and check out the last manga review of Hajime no Ippo on the channel. So I'll speak to you guys next time.